I used to think my mother was perfect. Everyone in town did. Diane Cooper, the woman who baked for the church, the mother who never raised her voice. But perfection has a cost. I remember that summer, the air heavy, the sky bleeding orange every evening. I was 17, angry at the world and everything in it, especially her. She'd tell me, "Ava, one day you'll understand." I hated those words. They sounded like a door closing in my face. One night, I woke to the sound of the front door creaking open. I saw her through the crack of my bedroom door, coat on, keys trembling in her hand. She looked over her shoulder like she was afraid someone would see her. I followed. The night was quiet except for her footsteps on the gravel. She drove toward the old part of town, where even the streetlights looked tired. I stayed far enough behind so she wouldn't notice. She stopped in front of a small house, peeling paint, windows boarded halfway. I saw her knock once, then again. A man opened the door, and she hugged him. Not like a stranger, not like a friend. Like someone she loved. My stomach twisted. My mother, perfect, quiet, God-fearing Diane, was having an affair. I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing her voice in my head. "One day you'll understand." I thought I did now. She wasn't perfect. She was just pretending. The next morning, she smiled at me like nothing had happened. She asked if I wanted pancakes. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I smiled back and started planning. I needed to know who that man was and why she risked everything for him. What I didn't know was that the truth would destroy both of us. That was the night I stopped being her daughter and started being her enemy.
The next morning felt different. My mother hummed as she made breakfast, as if she hadn't just torn our family apart in the dark. I watched her hands move, calm, perfect, clean, and I wondered how those same hands could hold so many lies. I skipped school that day. I waited until she left for work, then followed her again. She didn't go to her office. She went back to that house. The man was there again. He looked older, tired, like the world had taken something from him. When he hugged her this time, she cried. I moved closer, crouched behind the fence, heart pounding so hard it hurt. I couldn't hear much, but I caught fragments. I skipped school that day. I waited until she left for work, then followed her again. She didn't go to her office. She went back to that house. The man was there again. He looked older, tired, like the world had taken something from him. When he hugged her this time, she cried. I moved closer, crouched behind the fence, heart pounding so hard it hurt. I couldn't hear much, but I caught fragments. She can never know. It's her right to know, the man said. My mother's voice cracked. No, it will destroy her. My throat went dry. Destroy me? What secret could do that? I ran home before she saw me. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone. I wanted to tell someone, anyone, but who would believe me? Everyone thought my mother was a saint. That night, I waited in the hallway. When she came home, I watched her take off her coat, pour herself a glass of wine, and stare at nothing. The woman who raised me suddenly felt like a stranger, and I hated her for it. Days passed. I started searching the house. Every drawer, every cabinet, every hidden corner. I found nothing, until the night it stormed. The thunder shook the windows. She was asleep upstairs, and I was in the basement, flashlight trembling in my hand. Something about that old chest in the corner always felt wrong, like it was waiting. When I pried it open, I found a box, dusty, locked, and wrapped in an old photograph. It was of her, and that man, younger, smiling, holding a baby. My hands went cold. The baby wasn't me. On the back of the photo, written in fading ink, "For Ava, when she's ready." I couldn't breathe. The lock on the box was old. I broke it open with a hammer.
Inside, letters, hospital papers, and a small silver bracelet engraved with a name, Emily. I stared at it for a long time. Then I saw the certificate, birth record, Emily Cooper. Mother, Diane Cooper. Father, Richard Cole. Child, deceased. My blood turned to ice. My mother had another daughter, one I never knew existed, one who died, or maybe didn't? I ran upstairs and shook her awake. "Who is Emily?" I shouted. Her eyes opened slowly, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Ava," she whispered, voice trembling. "Please don't make me tell you. You lied to me. You lied my whole life." Tears burned my eyes. She sat up, face pale under the flickering light. "Ava," she said, "the man you saw, Richard, he isn't my lover. He's your father." The room spun. I could barely hear her over the sound of my own heartbeat. My father? The man she told me was dead? "Why would you hide that from me?" She looked away. "Because, Ava, you were never supposed to exist." The words hit me like a slap. I stumbled back. My chest felt hollow. "Never supposed to exist?" She tried to reach me. I pulled away. All I could see was the box, the photo, the lie that raised me. I ran from the house into the storm. The rain hit my skin like needles. My mother's voice echoed behind me, breaking with every word. "Ava, please, you don't understand." But I didn't stop. I couldn't, because for the first time in my life, I realized the woman who gave me everything had built it all on a lie. And I wasn't done uncovering the rest.
The storm raged all night. I walked until the world blurred, streets melting into shadows and rain. When I finally stopped, I was standing in front of that house again, the man's house, my father's house. The porch light flickered as I knocked. My hands were shaking, part anger, part disbelief. He opened the door slowly, eyes widening when he saw me. "Ava," he whispered. The way he said my name, like it hurt him, like he'd been waiting years to say it out loud. I stepped inside. The house smelled of dust and old memories. Faded pictures lined the mantel, one of a woman, another of a baby. "Is it true?" I asked. "Are you my father?" He nodded, tears glistening under the dim light. "I wanted to tell you for years, but your mother made sure I couldn't." He told me everything, how he and my mother had fallen in love young, how they'd lost their first daughter, Emily, in a hospital fire, how the grief broke them apart. Months later, they tried to move on until my mother discovered she was pregnant again, with me. But something inside her had changed. The loss of Emily left her haunted, fragile. She didn't believe she could love again, not even her new baby. "She thought keeping me away would protect you," he said softly. "She thought she was saving what was left of herself." My chest ached. Protecting me? From what? Love? I left his house just before dawn. The rain had stopped. The air felt heavy, like the sky was holding its breath. I didn't know where I was going until I realized
I was walking home. The door creaked when I pushed it open. My mother sat in the kitchen, eyes red, hair tangled, a cup of cold coffee in her hands. She looked up at me like she wasn't sure I was real. I didn't speak. Neither did she. For a long time, it was just silence, heavy, fragile, and full of things we both wanted to say. Finally, I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" She took a breath that sounded like it cost her everything. Because after Emily died, I didn't think I deserved to be anyone's mother. I thought God was punishing me, and I thought if I loved you, I'd lose you too. Her voice broke. I wanted to stay angry. I wanted to shout, to hurt her the way she had hurt me. But the woman sitting in front of me wasn't the monster I'd built in my head. She was broken, trapped in her own grief for years. And somehow, I understood. "I thought I was protecting you," she whispered, "but all I did was build walls between us." She reached out, hesitant like I expected her to pull away, and maybe I should have. But instead, I let her hold my hand. Her hand was warm, trembling, fragile, real. For the first time, I saw her not as a mother or a liar, but as a woman who had loved, lost, and survived. And I realized something. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's choosing to stop bleeding from a wound that will never close. The sun started rising, its light spilling across the kitchen floor. She squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Maybe not, but I'm tired of hating you." She let out a sob, half relief. We sat there, two women bound by the same sorrow, both guilty, both grieving, and for the first time, both honest. Weeks passed. I met my father again, slowly, cautiously. He was kind, patient. The three of us began to rebuild, piece by fragile piece. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Sometimes I still think about Emily, about the life she never got to live, and the space she left inside my mother that I could never fill. But maybe that's what love really is. Learning to live with ghosts. I used to think my mother's lies destroyed me. But maybe they saved me too. Because in the ruins of her secrets, I found my truth. And I found her. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't angry anymore.